Okay, so let's begin. So he answered the question. It's already actually on a new stage of the mind, but just to review yesterday, he answered the question why, notwithstanding the fact that Krishma is midiraisa, it doesn't express the same bittul that Shmoneh does, which is not deraisa. And when someone is terasa imnosai, doesn't stop for tefillah, but does stop for Kriya Shema. So the good of the Indian is that Kriya Shema b'chlal is yichud tata, even yichud ilah, that the person is misbainen in and entertains, is really part of yichud tata because it's his bonaness. It starts with his mitzias, as we explained, Shema Yisrael. Now, Mashenkim Shmoneh Esrei doesn't say it here, but elsewhere, Keneged Atzilus, Adnai Svasei Tiftach, Shmoneh Esrei is mamish in the king's private quarters with the king. That's complete bittul. So, number one, he said, so why is the one who's Terasim Lasei mafsik for Kriya Shema? He's not mafsik, it doesn't interrupt his learning for Shmoneh Esrei. Anybody? What was in the code of the answer, just in a word? Yirmiyahu, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so the Nakuda, he said, was very simply, because in the world of Teirasei Mnasei, which is wonderful, but he's detached from his own self. He's detached from his world of Midas, he's detached from the world of the Zulas, the other. So it's very nice. He's holding by Bittul B'Mitzias in his head, the point is. He's holding by Bittul B'Mitzias in the part of him, Seichel, which is open to the truth and enlightenment of the highest realm, but the humanity of him, at least the midas, which is the emes, the ikar of a person, is completely detached. Therefore, there has to be the avodah of Kriya Shema. There has to be the avodah b'chol levav v'chol nafshe v'chol meidecha. There has to be the engagement with the world, with others, to the point of Mesiras Nefesh. Cloistered in the world of Teirasim Nosei, he's completely removed. And that's not the tachlis at all. Therefore, he has to be mafsik for Kriya Shema. Right? That's what we learned yesterday. Why doesn't he have to daven? So why he's not mafsik for tefillah? Tefillah is a higher bittul. Tefillah is bittul b'mitzias. The answer in one word is?
He has a terminasi.
It's higher. Yes, Terasei Mnasei is a higher level of bittul than tefillah. Tefillah is still midas, meaning you ask, midas means, in our context, in Bachlal, midas means, emotion means a relationship with something else. So midas means otherness, engaging with the other, with the world outside, as reflected in Shmoneh Esrei. Hashonim, B'rei Fecholim, Matir Asurim. So it's not a bittul, but it's the bittul of midas. Whereas Torah, Terasim Nasi, is a much higher bittul. It's the pure objective chachma, completely absorbed in the world of Yichud Ilah, Mitzad Yichud Ilah. On the other hand, you got to say Krishma. So that's the mile of Terasim Nasi. Terasim Nasi, his bittul b'mitzias is greater than tefillah. The other hand, he has to daven Krishma because there has to be the bittul ayesh, because you are a yesh, and your bittul b'mitzias is escaping your own yeshes. Not as an escape by running away, but it's a transcendent state. It's a meditative transcendent state, which is very nice when you're in that matziv, and someone gives you a little. It reminds me of this is actually a real story. Not chas v'shalom. The word chas v'shalom would be the right word. We're talking about Yidden. I'm saying it's not a parallel, but it's kind of So my brother Yossel, the shliach in Georgia, the state of Georgia. So he went a bit of a circuitous route before he started off in Lubavitch, obviously, in Australia. His name is h'tשכ, is in yeshiva. But like many boys in those days, he went another route. He went to Keren B'Yavne, and then he ended up at a place called Itri, which is an American Litvish yeshiva. And then from there, he went to Teres Emes, 770, Shlichus. He's told you his story a little bit during one of his visits, if you remember, an amazing story, at least part of it. Upon him, he tells me that in Itri, so the story you saw, whatever, one of the Rosh Yeshiva, not Rosh Yeshiva, but maybe one of the boys even, used to daven with tremendous gestures and passion and enthusiasm. I think it was like a senior member. Like to completely detach from the world. Such a davening, wow. So they're a little bit suspicious, so they decided to test him. And during the davening, they gave him a little knip in the van hinten, a little pinch in his tush, or a little jab in the back. As he jumped, there was a hole. What happened to the attachment? The dveikus, gone in a flash, replaced with anger and outrage. So I'm not telling you the story so much critically. This is terasim nasei to the extreme. Skolzman is terasim nasei. Fine, but the kavanah is vaneshev bagoy. To dwell bepnimius, there has to be therefore the aveda of karishma, which engages our humanity. And so now you tell me that answers also the question what Rabbi said, that his whole life he only davened once b'kavanah. And yet Rabbi is the one, who he and his sons, not just him, he and his sons on the level of the office. He paled rain, was about to pale Tchias HaMeisim. The world was shaking, heaven was shaking, Tchias HaMeisim. He about to say the words, Mechaya Meisa, to stop him. And he said, I davened only once in my life. B'kavanah. The teretz is, based on all of the above, a 2-second answer. But the answer is that what?
He was holding this by Terasim.
He was terasim nasei.
That was his bittul.
He was terasim, so his bittul was a higher bittul than tefillah. Chachma mamish, not just the midas shebachachma. Chachma is nimshach and midas. Midas meaning in the world, because tefillah does deal with the world. It's pure bittul. So why once? Maimon doesn't give us too much. What does Maimon say?
He had some type of yerida on his.
He didn't say yerida. He didn't say yerida. Hashpala. It says, the attack of the word yerida. The lav hachi, there was something that caused the yerida from his Torah, so him not say matziv. So then he davened. Vidal. Looking at the Gemara, we have no indication of what that doesn't say. There's nothing outside that was happening. The Gemara doesn't say. It only says what he was thinking about in davening. I told you. And that, no doubt, conveys profound secrets. Upon him, that's the end of the Maimer, the Alter Rebbe's Maimer, basically, as the Rebbe explains it. So then he began saying that there's two Hagoys of the Tzemach Tzedek, Saviat Kotshay on the Maimer. Remember, the Maimer is the Alter Rebbe's Maimer written by the Mittler Rebbe with Hagoys of the Tzemach Tzedek. That's what this bichel is. So the first one, let's summarize it. Bekitze, he just says Bekitze that what? So he says in a word, he's saying Terasem Nosei means that he's mamshich lemata the inyan of kodesh. Mila begarmeim begarma. Kodesh is something which stands on its own, removed, completely beyond creation. That's what Terasem Nosei is. That's the dag of Chachma. The dag of Chachma is the dag of kodesh, as explained at length. And that's And he said, Ma'amar Chazal, Torah precedes creation, it's Chaya Elam, Tefillah is Chaya Shah, Torah is eternal, Tefillah is temporary. Spoke about Seder Zmanim, there's the Seder Zmanim, and then there's Chaya Shah, which is Malchus, as we mentioned. Malchus is associated with time, Hashem Malach, Melech, Yimlech. So what's his conclusion? That Tzemach Tzedek, since he's in Yoni, was Terasim Nasai, or anyone who's in is Terasim Nasai, he's potter from Tefillah. Why? What's a mashal he gives? Like a Isha is potter from mitzvah saseish as man grom, because Tefillah has to do with his man, Seder Zmanim. Now I need Panasa, now I need healing, and Seder Zmanim. Tefillah engages the world with its vicissitudes and limitations. So a woman is potter from Tefillah. A woman is Malchus, that's Mamish Zman. Malach, Melech, Yimlech. Malchus is the feminine property. Time is factored into a very physical being. The cycle of time. So why she potter? One of the reasons is because she doesn't need to engage in it. She's married to a husband. He's Inyan Izah, and therefore doesn't have to engage the needs. They are addressed naturally. Terasa Yemenasai doesn't have to have the Inyan Tefillah, so that's a Tzedek answering, because B'derech HaMelech. B'derech HaMelech being mamshich, this level, the matter, the imperfections, the needs are naturally healed and fixed. As he says at the end, just look at the end of that quote, but the number 71. Everybody has, it's on the same page where you have h'tshk, but the number 71. So he concludes, that Tzemach Tzedek concludes, B'derech HaMelech nimshachim kol inyanim shesichim lifnei Tefillah, which is Chaya Shah. Why? In a word, because he's mamshich Chaya Elam in the world. Kodesh, Torah, Kadma La'olam, Chaya Elam. So the infinite simply is drawn into the world. The imperfections of the finite are fixed. She doesn't have to daven because she's plugged into this. She's one with Baila, and Baila is Zoh, which is connected at the next level, mamshich from Chacham. So, guys, keep up the shirim. You got to learn. All the inyanim. It's not a joke. It's the Rabbi told my father-in-law once. Chaim will tell you the story properly. With challenges in Pandasa, and the answer was in Meisif and Shiurim Limit Torah. At that time, he expanded. He rented more space in his office for the purpose of the Wednesday shir, which grew to be a big shir.
The answer was a 5 words. Haisafe belimud haTorah asker. Haisafe belimud haTorah asker alatzian. That's all.
Haisafe belimud haTorah. This was the answer to what Panasa. This is the Maimon. This Mamshich from Kodesh to Terasei Menasei. They used to always say that while we are learning, there'll be Terasei Menasei. They used to say no telephone, there's no nothing.
Did he see any tangible benefit right away?
What?
Did your father-in-law see any tangible benefit right away with the Rebbe's brachas?
I'm sure he did. He didn't report to me, but I'm sure he did. Ask Chaim. I'm sure he did. So this is not magic, or it's not a segula. A segula. You do this, you'll be rewarded with that. You're learning in the mind. This is you plug into Torah, and Torah perfect, and Chaya Olam. Interestingly enough, Chaya Olam, which means eternal. What's the word we use for eternal? Olam. Another fun. Nitzchim is a better word, that would convey transcendence. But the diak is that this Chaya is nimshach in the Olam, this eternal life. So that was the answer. Okay, boys. If you needed more motivation, just got some. We're up to our Goa base, by number 71 of the Tzemach Tzedek. Yeah? The Kriya Shema. So the first Haggah was about the Torah Simnasai. And the second Haggah that the Tzedek writes about and adds a beer in the meaning of Kriya Shema. Shin Yonah Lachet is Hayesh im Shorshim B'Koyla. So Kriya Shema starts with the Yesh. With us down here, and the point is to be united with the source. She Yuchlo Hachitzonis, as Halmayim explained, Barichas, my Melyonim, my Tachtoinim, She Yuchlo Hachitzonis Bapnimius. That the lower Tanugim should be incorporated and bottled to. He's going to give us now two levels to that, to the Pnimius, to the Tanugim Melyonim. The Kavanah, this should be done to such a degree that, before, which would affect the unity and bring us to a state as it was before the beer of the separation, Shadei Pula Sakravayim, which the Rakia, the Kravayim, effect. Umavayed, the Tzemach Tzedek says that in this unity of the Chetzenius and Pnimius, of the Tainig Tacht and the Tainig Elyon, there is Beis Inyonim, two Inyonim. Let's see. In your Aleph, first thing, Shemitchila, at the outset, before the separation, there's one level. There's one level, level one of how things are before. It is, so the externalities, Tainugim Gashmim, and the Psoilis, etc., was all bottled to the Pnimius, Kumai, Bitl Mai Maroyim, B'Mai Mayofim, like bad waters, impure waters are bottled if it's a small amount, so they become nullified to the Mayim Hayofim, to the clear crystal waters. Better word for bad waters, anybody?
Murky?
Huh?
Murky.
Yeah, murky, yeah. That's one oifen of bittul, like a bittul in halacha. Why are you smiling?
Wow.
Yeah, mikvah's pristine, clean, but
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem. No Mesiras Nefesh going into our mikvah. Mesiras Nefesh getting out of the mikvah.
I need some Mesiras Nefesh going, saying, yeah.
You what?
I think it needs some Mesiras Nefesh. There's no...
To get up and go, but not.
No, I'm saying there is none.
There is none.
Yeah.
The only thing is to get up early and be there and be. Akoponim, so that's a bit like the bittul in halacha of batel b'shishim, etc. But in Yanabeis, there's a higher level of bittul. So this appears what he's saying, that he's identifying two levels lemaila. The etzem, which he's going to describe now, and the lower level he just described. So in Yanabeis, b'ifanaila yosef. It's not that the mayim royim is bottled to the mayim yafim, but rather shemitchila lahoya royim klal. But there's chitzonius there; it's there. So, in what ways are not royim? V'hainu shachitzonius kefi sheklula ba'pnimius. When the chitzonius becomes part of the pnimius, lo yhoisa ba'ofen shachitzonius. It's not the same chitzonius k'meshil achari shifudem in pnimius. When it's separated, the Mayim Royim remains Mayim Royim, even when it's in the Mayim Yofim. But it's bottled, it's overwhelmed, not discernible. Now he's saying something else, that there is no Mayim Royim. There is Tachechitzonius, but not as something negative, as a virtuous thing. Not a Chitzonius that is negligible, or mayim royim that is negligible. But l'chatchila, it's in a way of virtue, of maila. Let's see inside.
That's only because it came
Pardon?
to the premise, no?
Pardon?
Only because it became bottled to the premise. Is that what we're saying? No.
First one is bittul.
No, but even in the second one, because of the
Yeah, well, it's a different it's a higher level of bittul.
Right. But it's because of the premise. It's not the mile of the.
It's because it's connected to the pnimius. The chitzonius is expressive of the. To rephrase it, the chitzonius expresses the pnimius. The first one, the chitzonius is bottled to the pnimius, and the second darg is that the chitzonius is good. It's a good thing. What kind of chitzonius is good? If it expresses pneumius, whatever that means. And that's the language we're getting at. I know. Lamazan the Maimer. And each one will think what it means. What happened as a result of the Rakia? There's two things. It's a very subtle, friends. Good trachten what this means. But there's two things going on here. A, separation. The Avdallah causes separation between the Chitzonius and Pnimius. But then a second thing happened. Yorda Chitzonius Madrigos. It descended. As if to say the Chitzonius gets like a life of its own. And that's already Mayim B'roim. Havdalah is not Mayim B'roim. Descent, yeah, let's see inside. But let's wait. He's talking about Ruchni is Lamaila, which manifested in the physical Mayim down here. What happened? So the Rikiya, what's the parallel? The Gufa Adam to the Rikiya.
The liver, lobe of liver.
In the Lashon HaKodesh, the words of the Maimer.
Atzara Kavin.
Yeah. And the Kravayim, Lamaila.
Maila is the Malachim.
Malach. Yeah, good. I know. So let's get the track. Let's get the flow. So just like now, I was going to translate this. We're going to see it. Can't wait. But what happened? Oh, you're getting some ice. You see, begashmias. So that's what we're saying. That before the Avdallah, the chitzonius is virtuous. It's a virtuous thing. It's a mile. Because there's the mile of chitzonius. It was Ruchni. So what happened? Like they Avdallah, Sadikiya, not only is it separated, so you have a higher Ruchni, a lower Ruchni. Something more radical happened. It descended, became Gashmi. They Avdallah, Sadikiya, Yod, Madrigosim, and Nasa Gashmi. The Maimel Yoni became Pasha Begashmis. So you see the two things. Not only it, the Chatchila, there was Chitzonius and Pnimius, Abschalz, ain't all one thing. Ruchnius and all virtue. The separation is one thing. Not only separation that Yerida from the Maim Tachtonim being Inyan Ruchni, again, Tzarech Iyun, to understand this means in Avodah Nefesh Adam. The Maim Tachtonim become Gashmi. Let's go further. V'alderech shematzino. There's all the Tzemach Tzedek. So what's the Avodah? He says the Avodah is to restore the Mayim Tachtonim to the higher Dargah. Not that it should be bottled, not that the Gashmi, the negativity should be bottled and overwhelmed by Kedoshah. But we have to restore the Matziv, that even the Tacht and Gufa is a Mailah. You follow what I'm saying? Now he's going to translate this a little bit for us. It's all that's a Tzemach Tzedek. Like we find, that we find. The Gemara, this is a Gemara in Sukkot. The Gemara is talking about the Yetzer Hara. It's Satan, actually. Satan Yetzer Hara. So the Gemara says, Shafa Bishal Mata Nasa Maimah the Matziv, Shenosan Einav Migdashishan. The Yetzer Hara, the Satan, cast his eyes on the first base of Migdash, destroyed. The Migdasheni, the second one, Vichrivai. It's a pasuk there from one of the Levim. They used to banishes. I said, love the Yetzer Hara that he can't cast his eyes anywhere and cause destruction. So that's the Mata. The Mata, Yetzer Hara. He's talking extreme. Yetzer Hara is Churban. Become Mokem, Kemoishe, and Rubashar Shemakaira, Lamaila. But what's the unit of Yetzer? What's Kecha Gvul, the Helam, all of this, where it comes from, the Rakia, the way it is in the Sherish Moker, how does it be'ofen? Shesotnu Pnina L'Shem Shemayim Yiskaven. Famous Gemara Baba Basra. That's Satan in the story of Eov. The story of Eov, that Satan demanded of the Eibishter to test Eov. You know why? You know why? Satan, the Gemara says there, one of the Amoraim. So it shouldn't put Avram in bad light. Shem Shemayim. And Penina, says the Gemara, also the Shem Shemayim. She wanted to goad Chana. She shouldn't give up and daven. The Gemara there says, by the way, the end, after explaining the Satan Hashem Shemayim Niskaven, he says the Satan came and kissed my feet. Whatever. It's all about Chassidism. Kissed his feet. The Gemara about Basra, famous Gemara. But what's he bringing out? That Lamaila, the Shem Shemayim Niskaven. The high and those Shenikra, let's continue to finish those. Shenikra on the Meshem Satan. He's called Satan even there. Not a name change. It's called Satan. Because Makem Leshem the Shedeshem Makem. Makem Leshem Shemayim Diskav. Say that's a Matzedek, that's the Tachlis. The Tachlis is the high, not that the Ra is bottle, but there is no Ra. This is the Shem Shemayim. The Pnimis, it's Tov. The Chitzonius is Tov. The Pselis is Tov. This is Al Derech taking the waste and using as fertilizer to make a lush harvest. My left tshuva. I mean, this is the big concept of Chassidus. The big idea, the big truth. So let's conclude. This is the Tzemach Tzedek Mizem Moving Girdle Milas. I'm not sure when the Tzemach Tzedek ends. The Rebbe starts. I don't know. Look it up. Mizem Moving Girdle Milas Aveda. Sounds like this is the Rebbe's conclusion. So from here we see that the Maila, the Gevaldik Aveda of Kriya Shema, Shalosai, that the Takim Lamata Lamaila, even the Yichud Yilas, Mitzad, Bitl Hayesh, not Bitl B'Tzios. What's demanded and what's possible? Shahalos Hayesh L'Shorshim Akoyroi, and therefore bottle, negligible, and of no significance. No. That the Chitzonius Gufa is experienced as expressing Elikus, Gufa, Mamish, Satan, Hashem Shemayim Niskav. This moment itself. This moment, as you look at it, Lamata, it's negative. Look at Lamata, Penina is antagonizing her. Chana. But Pnimis, this very moment is the Shem Shemayim. And look what it resulted in. The birth of Shmuel and so on. Let's continue. Vapizeh, Yuvon, Ha'inyed, Eistes. The Kotointi Mikola Chasadim Mikola Embes. Right, so the Shaila is we have to understand what is the Inyan that Kola Embes pales a greater bitl than Kotointi, than Mikola Chasadim. The Indian Bekola saying the Kotointi, this whole general understanding of this whole Inyan, Mavayrat Marazokin. Ateb explains in the letter there, which begins Kotointi, which he wrote after Yitis Kislev. Acher biyosoi mi Peterburg, that's how its introduction. Interesting that it doesn't write it out. Pay-based Ashitavis. Pashtas, I'm going to put his name in Tanya. It's named after. So he writes there, it's an admonition to the Chassidim that having been experienced this tremendous chesed, that what should be payal, a greater bittul. Because the Chassidim, you can imagine, were on fire, and they were ready to, revenge is a strong word, but at least express their victory in no uncertain terms. The Alter Rebbe was sheilet legamri. And he writes, the shekol shukam yoser yoser kala v'ayin v'efes. The closer one is to the Eibishter, he's more kaloi, like not, v'ayin and nothing, v'efes and zero. Rabbi says, because of the great kindness the Eibishter showed us, this has to affect at the greater bittul, not to raise our heads. On the contrary. What does he write there? We learned the Maimer. A beer, that writes at the end of that letter, chas v'shalom, even to what? Remember? In Tanya there. Huh? This right, yeah, to whistle. We look. If you remember the beer and the Maimer, what does he mean by that? I mean, Pashtus, it means even the whistle, not even the no expression of we won. But why does he convey that in the singing of Lisrek Dafka? Okay, we learned this, friends, a number of years ago. So v'cheinu, just one more line here, and we'll continue. V'cheinu be'in v'aneshev bagoy. And that's the union of a nation, bagoy mul base pa'ir, that in order to be oiker and transformed, the higher bittul pa'ir, there has to be what? Vaneshev bagoy. Goy is the valley bittul. And then in the bittul be yashvus, to be seen, Beis Hashem, tomorrow. We'll continue.